Welcome to the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast Vlog. I'm Sean, I'm your host, and it's Wednesday, so that means it's a random vlog. Saturdays is usually the wrestling report, and this can be dealer's choice, shall we say. And I think one of the fun things I'd like to do with this is sometimes, I'm not going to say sometimes, a lot of times, when me and Ian record the podcast, the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast, found on most podcatchers, just give us a Google search, we're very easy to find. One of the things that we do is we'll go down rabbit holes, and so a story I may have picked out that I wanted to talk about during the podcast, we lose. And, you know, a lot of times those stories are cats. A lot of times those stories are time sensitive. You know, they're timely. So you don't want to talk about them a week from now. You want to talk about them when they're relevant. And so a lot of times, a lot of those stories will just go by the wayside. But with this vlog, I think it's an opportunity that I can take those stories and discuss them a little bit with you and give my thoughts, because I'm the one who picked them out. So one of the stories that came out this week that we didn't get to talk about on the show was that Sylvester Stallone is looking to direct a TV remake of his 80s movie Nighthawk. I think it came out in 1982. The movie stars him and Billy D. Williams. They're partners. They're both New York City police officers, and Rutger Hauer is the villain. So this is actually, to me, one of those Stallone movies that kind of goes very deep under the Stallone radar. You know, you have Rocky and Rambo, and now the Expendables. Then there's like that next tier with like Cobra and movies like that. Like, you know, like those 80s action movies that he did a ton of, and 90s action movies he just, you know, he ripped through. And this is one of those movies that it's not a full blazing action movie where Stallone's, you know, ripped, and you know, this is a much more subtle action movie. It's an action movie, don't get me wrong. But it is a very well thought out action movie, and it's one of those movies that, again, like I feel like, you know, when you look at Stallone's work, a lot of people just kind of bypass this or forget about it for whatever reason. And I don't know why, because it's got a stellar cast, especially, you know, with Billy D. Williams and the great Rutger Hauer. And so he's looking to remake this as a TV series starring Frank Grillo. You know, many people will know him from the Purge movies. He was also Crossbones in the Marvel franchise. So he, you know, this is a guy who you know, no stranger to action movies whatsoever. I think he just has a new one that came out with Gerard Butler, I think, Cop Shop, that actually looked very good. Like, you know, in a cheesy kind of way, but I you know, so I want to see it. But so he's no stranger to action movies, and I think he'd be a perfect fit for this project, playing the Stallone character. I like the idea of this being rebirthed as a TV series. You know, Sylvester Stallone's a guy who, as a writer and a director, for the most part, I really trust. You know, we all point at Staying Alive and say, you know, what was he thinking there? But, you know, overall, like, especially as a writer, I mean, you figure he wrote Rocky 1, Rocky 2, and I think he wrote Rocky 3 and 4. I think, you know, I know he wrote Rocky Balboa. I know he wrote John Rambo. So I mean, he's a guy who actually is a very talented writer. The Expendables, I know he wrote those, and I think he directed that as well. So he's actually a very talented writer. Um, it's one of those things where, so I would be very interested to see what he envisions this movie being turned into a TV show, how he sees that unfolding. Um, I really like the idea. Um, so it's one of those things where I saw this article and I thought, well, that's a good idea. I talked about it with Nancy, and she's all in because she likes Frank Grillo, and she kind of remembers the movie even. So it's like one of those things where, like I said, it's one of those movies. I highly encourage you to go and find that movie and check it out. But this is something that I'm sure somebody will pick this up, probably Amazon, maybe Hulu. But this will be something that you'll see on the horizon. I definitely think that Stallone will bring to fruition. And I mean, when you have two names like that, it's Sylvester Stallone, Frank Stallone. When you have Sylvester Stallone and you have Frank Grillo, these are, Stallone's a heavyweight, an absolute heavyweight, and Frank Grillo's, he's no slouch either, and I think he definitely brings cachet to the table that he wants to be involved with this project as well. So I certainly look forward to this, and it's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. A couple other things that we kind of missed last week. Part of it's my fault. I completely forgot about it. Was the Hawkeye trailer. I think I touched on it on here last week, but there was also there was a trailer for the Guillermo del Toro movie, and I can't remember the name of it. And it looked very interesting. But I mean, I wish I could remember the name of it. I don't want to look it up and look like a stooge. But yeah, I'm interested in anything Del Toro does. Guillermo del Toro is a guy who I'll watch a Guillermo del Toro movie. I think it's I think if you're somebody who doesn't listen to our podcast, one of the things that I'm not a guy who follows actors per se. Like I have to watch this movie because this actor's in it. I will watch movies because of the director, and that's an odd thing, I guess, to most people. They'd much rather, I'm interested in the actor. I want to see a Tom Cruise movie. I want to see a, whoever. I don't know. Chris Evans, whatever, I guess. But I'm a guy who, I like directors. I like Christopher Nolan, Guillermo del Toro, Ridley Scott, the Scott brothers, the Wachowski siblings. The list goes on and on. James Cameron, if they're attached to the project, I'm more than likely to check that out. And don't get me wrong, sometimes they lay stinkers, and sometimes most of the time you get greatness from them. And Guillermo del Toro is a guy who, the majority of the time, you get great movies from. You go back to Pan's Labyrinth, you go back to the Hellboy movies. The one he won the Academy Award for, which was basically the Creature from the Black Lagoon, told as Romeo and Juliet in many ways. I mean, it's a very he is a visually, I think he brings something to his work that I really appreciate. And I think that's what I like, all the directors that I'm talking about here. You look at Ridley Scott, you go over his body of work over the last 40 years. You look at, Blade Runner is my all-time favorite movie. That movie is absolutely stunning visually. It also tells a good story, don't get me wrong. But, it was like Star Wars opened my eyes as a child to visual effects, to those types of movies. But Blade Runner was the first movie I watched where I had to immediately watch it again because I felt like there were things I missed in that movie. There were things I wanted to see, and I wanted to re-see. So you look at like Ridley Scott's work over the years, and you look at his brother's work over the years, and like how their movies look visually. Christopher Nolan, you go back to Memento, you go back to the Dark Knight trilogy, the way he made those movies look. Even like The Prestige, Interstellar. His movies have a wonderful look to them. The way the camera moves, the way the things are lit. He has an eye for these things, and that's what all these directors do. They curate ambiance with the camera, and when you do something like that, I think that it helps with the storytelling. And again, most of these guys that I'm talking about are all great storytellers as well. So Del Toro's got this new movie coming out. I can't remember the name of it. I need to start scripting this shit. But yeah, so he's got this new movie coming out, and the trailer looked really interesting, and I can't wait to see what he has in store for us next, because he is a master storyteller. And I think that was it. That was yeah. So that's all I got. So that's it for this week. This is the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast vlog. Remember, you can also find our podcast, our actual podcast, which is much better than this, on most podcatchers. Just search Pittsburgh Nerd. We're very, very easy to find. And remember also, this Saturday, if you are in the Pittsburgh area, we will be at the Nerd Corner, recording our show live from there. Well, recording it live. It'll be recorded live in front of a studio audience. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work. But we're going to be at the Nerd Corner here in White Oak on Lincoln Way. So if you want to come in and say hello, bring your wallet, maybe purchase something from the store, that would be awesome. We hope to see you there. But that's what we're going to be doing this week. So that's going to be exciting. And that's it. That's all I got. So on that note, the dreamer has awakened.